You're drowning in work. Your inbox is overflowing. Your inbox is bleeding into your dreams, and you haven't slept properly in a week. A colleague passes your desk, glances at the
Hey,
chaos,
need a hand
and
with
says, "Hey,
No thanks,
want some
I've
help?"
got it.
You
And what
sure?
do you do?
It looks like
You
a lot.
smile, say you've got it under control, and wave them off.
You sure you're
But
alright?
the truth is, you don't have it under control. You're suffocating. Yet the words, "I need help," somehow feel impossible to say. Why is that? Why do so many of us choose to sink rather than reach for a hand being offered right in front of us? If you've ever felt this way, if you've ever felt that strange, almost physical resistance to asking for help, you're not alone. And more importantly, there's a real psychological architecture behind it. It's not weakness, it's not character flaw. It's actually a deeply human pattern shaped by our brains, our past, and the stories we've been telling ourselves since childhood. Today, I want to take you inside the psychology of people who never ask for help, because understanding why you do something is the first step to changing it. Let me start with something that might resonate. There's a particular kind of pain that comes with being someone who never asks for help. It's almost like there's two versions of you living in the same body. There's the version that appears to be fine, that handles everything, that doesn't burden others. And then there's the version underneath,
You're not alone.
the one who's scared, overwhelmed, and deeply lonely, because nobody really knows how much you're struggling. That split is exhausting. The energy it takes to maintain that facade, to pretend you're okay, often uses up more resources than actually getting the help would require in the first place. But here's the thing that's fascinating from a psychological perspective. This isn't a bug in your system. It's a feature that went slightly haywire. Think about it from an evolutionary angle. Our ancestors lived in small tribes, where self-reliance was genuinely a survival mechanism. If you couldn't handle things on your own, you were a liability. Over generations, those who developed strong independence instincts, who prided themselves on not being a burden, who figured things out themselves, those people survived and passed on their genes. So autonomy, self-sufficiency, independence, these are actually encoded into human psychology as virtues. They feel good. They feel safe. They feel like proof that you're capable, that you matter, that you have worth. And that's a beautiful thing to inherit. But here's where it gets complicated in the modern world. We've built societies that amplify this instinct to its extreme. We celebrate the self-made person. We honor the hustle, the grinding, the doing it alone. The richest guy in the room is the one who supposedly needed nobody. We tell children to be independent from an incredibly early age. We equate needing help with failure, with weakness, with being incapable. And somewhere along the way, for a lot of people, asking for help becomes deeply, viscerally threatening to their identity. It feels like admitting they're not enough. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in the brain and mind of someone who never asks for help. Psychologists who study attachment patterns have found something really interesting. People who struggle to ask for help often have what's called an avoidant attachment style, frequently developed in childhood. Maybe your parents weren't emotionally available. Maybe they were overwhelmed themselves, so you learned early that your needs were an inconvenience. Or maybe the opposite happened. Maybe they were so hovering and controlling that the only way you could feel a sense of self was by refusing to need them. Either way, you learned that depending on others was dangerous. It might mean loss of control, rejection, or abandonment. There's also shame involved, and shame is a powerful emotion. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt is about what you did. Shame is about who you are. When you ask for help, for some people, it triggers deep shame. The feeling that there's something fundamentally wrong with them for not being able to handle things alone. This feeling often comes from past experiences of judgment or criticism. Maybe someone made you feel stupid or weak for struggling. Maybe you were mocked or made to feel burdensome. And now, decades later, You'd rather suffer in silence than risk that feeling again.
Useless!
There's also something called the
Hustle?
illusion of self-sufficiency.
Grind?
People who don't
Do it
ask for
alone.
help often unconsciously believe they're managing fine,
Useless!
even when they're clearly not.
Be independent.
This isn't delusion
Do it
exactly.
yourself.
It's more like selective perception. Your brain has gotten so good at compartmentalizing stress, at pushing things down, at focusing only on what you can control, that you've actually lost touch with how bad things have gotten. You're like someone driving a car with the warning lights broken, not realizing the engine is smoking because you've stopped looking at the dashboard. And then there's control. This is a big one. Asking for help means inviting another person into your situation. It means you can't control exactly how they help, what they might judge you for, or how they'll use the information. For people who never ask for help, control is often a defense mechanism against anxiety. If you handle everything yourself, nothing can surprise you. Nothing can go wrong, because you're the one managing it. The cost of this, of course, is that you carry an impossible weight. But the comfort of certainty, even the certainty that you'll struggle, can feel safer than the uncertainty of relying on someone else. What's particularly interesting is how this pattern often creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's say you had a parent who was emotionally unavailable. You learn not to ask them for help. Fast forward to adulthood, and now you don't ask anyone for help. Your friends, your partner, your family, they all think you've got everything handled. So they stop offering. And because you're suffering silently, the people who might want to support you have no idea that you need them. Over time, you feel more isolated, more alone, more convinced that nobody would help you anyway. And those beliefs calcify. They become facts as far as your brain is concerned. There's also a paradox worth exploring here. The irony is that not asking for help often requires way more vulnerability than actually asking for it. Think about it. When you ask for help, you're being honest. You're showing up as you actually are, human, limited, needing others sometimes. But when you don't ask for help, you're asking yourself to be dishonest about who you are and what you need. You're asking yourself to perform a version of yourself that doesn't actually exist. And maintaining that performance is incredibly vulnerable, incredibly fragile. One breakdown, one moment where the mask slips, and everything falls apart. Whereas if you just admitted the truth from the start, there'd be nothing to hide, nothing to defend, nothing that could be taken away. But I get it. Understanding why you do something doesn't make it easy to stop. The neural pathways that tell you to handle things alone are well worn. They feel natural. They feel like you. And changing them requires confronting some genuinely scary internal territory. It means examining the story you've been telling yourself about what it means to be capable, to be worthy, to be lovable. It means risking rejection or judgment. It means accepting that you're human, and humans need each other. That last one is harder than it sounds. Here's what I want you to know, though. The capacity to ask for help isn't a weakness that you need to overcome. It's actually a strength. It requires confidence. It requires self-awareness. It requires courage. People who ask for help aren't weak. They're often the strongest people in the room because they understand something fundamental that a lot of us struggle with. That we were never meant to do this alone. That depending on others isn't a failure of character, it's an acknowledgement of reality. We're social creatures. We evolved to be part of a tribe. And somewhere along the way, we got the message twisted. So if you're someone who never asks for help, I want to gently suggest something. Pay attention to what happens in your body when someone offers to help you. Notice the resistance. Notice where it comes from. Is it fear? Is it shame? Is it a need to maintain control? Notice it without judgment, because you're not broken. You're not defective. You're just someone whose brain learned that asking for help was dangerous. And your brain is very good at protecting you. It's doing what it thinks is in your best interest. The thing is, you're not that vulnerable kid anymore. You're not in the situation that taught you to be self-reliant. You're safe enough now to let other people in. And maybe the first step isn't even asking for the big things. Maybe it's starting small. Maybe it's letting someone pick up the check. Maybe it's admitting to a friend that you're struggling with something. Maybe it's asking a simple question instead of spending 3 hours trying to figure it out yourself. Small moments of vulnerability can rewire your nervous system. They can teach you, through experience, that the thing you were afraid of doesn't actually happen. People don't judge. They don't think less of you. In fact, most people feel closer to you when you're honest about your struggles. They feel honored that you trusted them enough to ask. The beautiful thing about understanding your own psychology
still serve me?
is that you get to decide what comes next. You get to look at these patterns, these beliefs, these survival strategies that your brain developed, and you get to decide if they still serve you. And if they don't, you get to choose something different. It's not easy, it takes time, but it's possible. And I genuinely believe that you're capable of it. After all, you've managed to survive your whole life without asking for help.